Hi everybody, I'm Colossal. I've been playing Halo for over a decade, coached several competitive teams, and been a player for just as many. I was champion in Halo 5, I'm consistently Onyx in Halo Infinite, and currently play for and coach a team on the HRL circuit. The goal of this lecture series is to familiarize people who may be new to the game or have been playing for a long time and can't seem to gain rank with some of the concepts known to higher level players, but which aren't really addressed. Everybody just thinks you should know this stuff. Welcome to the Under 1500 lecture. So today, I'm going to be going over spawns and um, specifically spawn control and poison spawns on streets. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to go and actually look at the spawns. Crazy, right? There's lots of really good videos on spawns out there. Some of them go into Forge, most of them don't. Most of them just look at gameplay and talk about spawn concepts, and that's great. And I think those are awesome videos, and I've watched those videos myself, a lot of them. But today we're going to look and see what spawns exist on the map on a Forge perspective, and which ones you're going to encounter. And then we're going to go over concepts like poison spawns. And poison spawns are, well, we'll get there when we get there, right? So first off, let's go look and see what spawn points look like, right? So we've got a lot of stuff going on in here. Don't worry about a lot of these things. They have to do with other game types that we're not going to be using in competitive. These are our initial spawns. They look like this says team intro line left 1. This is a introductory spawn. And we can hit R right here and see that they've excluded infection. So we're not really too worried about that. But this is team 2 Cobra, Squad Alpha. And then we have these little guys back here. Hit R again. Click on one of these guys. Hit R again. And we're going to see that this spawn point says order 0. So order 0 means it's a priority spawn. It's a spawn that's going to be used during game, during your competitive games, basically. There are spawns that say like order 2, and those are going to be your free-for-all spawns. And this is just how 343 has set it up and worked them for specific game modes and things like that. So, but for our competitive game modes, order 0 are the spawns that we're looking for. And look at this. It says ignore danger off, ignore line of sight off. That means the way that the spawns function is ignore danger. If there's danger in the area, it doesn't want to spawn you there. Meaning if an enemy is standing there, it doesn't want to spawn you there. Now, it still will occasionally if all the other spawns are blocked and there's more danger elsewhere. It may still spawn somebody on one of these. But for the most part, if you're nearby and you're staring at a spawn, they're not going to be spawning there. Only exceptions to this is if you're not staring directly at a spawn from like far across the map. You're staring in a general, like you could see it on your screen, but your reticle's not on it. They'll still spawn in those locations sometimes. For the most part, if there's line of sight directly to the spawn, or there's danger, meaning grenades blowing up or shots being fired in that location, they're not going to spawn people there. And that's important because that's going to help you to control spawns and to get your team up on spawns as well. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spawns in the back of the base here, meaning there's plenty of opportunity for people to spawn here. We've got not these spawns, this spawn here, which we're going to check on. And that says order 0, ignore danger off, ignore line of sight off. So you have potential for somebody to spawn here in the base. Why is this so important to be able to look at where all of these spawn points are? Because it tells you exactly, there will be a person who spawns exactly here. Right? If there's going to be somebody who's going to spawn here, they're not going to spawn here. They're going to spawn here. Exactly. If you look at that spawn and nobody's there, they didn't spawn here. right? Move on. So all of these are available. These are also available, okay? And we'll just check it just to make sure our order 0. So these types of spawns that sit backwards away from a line of sight, there is no real line of sight to that spawn, right? Unless somebody's standing right here. But from across the map, there's no line of sight. Even if I'm up here, right, there's no line of sight to that. And there's enough walls in the way for the game to consider that there's no danger in this area either. So these would be what we consider poison spawns. They're tucked back in corners, and though there is an area where they could be considered dangerous, that you can also get spawned on from these locations, right? So if you're not actively in here, being around this, taking damage or throwing grenades at this specific spawn, they could potentially spawn behind you, even if you're, for instance, like up here taking damage or fighting or these types of things, especially if you've got, if your team has all the other spawns blocked, right? These are the types of locations they're going to spawn. They're going to spawn behind you back there, or they're going to spawn way back tucked into here, and you're like, I don't understand. I was here. I was in the base. Why did they spawn? Poison spawn, man. That you're not a danger at this point. You're all the way up here, right? Here's another poison spawn. These 4 spawns here. Red room spawns. So we talked about this a little bit in our last lecture on under 1600, recognizing that just because you have control over B, and a lot of people will tell you that they can't spawn there if you're at rails, and they definitely, they can spawn there. They can spawn there if you're at rails. It doesn't, there's no line of sight, and there's no danger happening in this area. They can spawn here. So this is one of those situations where if you're controlling spawns, you want to consider these types of spawns as things that can happen to your team, but unless you're close by, right? If I'm here, they won't spawn there. If I'm here, they could easily spawn there, right? And it is dependent on what's going on in the game and whether or not the other spawns are blocked and these types of things. But for the most part, we want to be wary of these spawns. We want to be aware that they exist, and we want to try to put down some damage in those locations if we're trying to keep them off these spawns, right? Throw a nade in here, something like that. There's also these spawns here. Not this one. Mind you, this one's for free-for-all. Order 2. Okay. Two spawns here. 2 spawns here. Let's see. We've got more poison spawns in here. So, okay, 2 spawns here, or multiple spawns here, I think 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. All of these are spawns that you'll see in game. Order 0. All of these would also be considered poison spawns, right? They're especially these, because there's lots of walls between, so there's very little LOS, very little line of sight. And if there's not damage going on in here, they can spawn here. Even if you're over here fighting at A, there's walls between you. There's no line of sight. The game checks for line of sight. It says line of sight check. Anybody around? Nope, nobody can see me. Okay. And then it says, is there danger in the area? And it goes, meh, right? Especially if we're over here fighting on purple, it's like, oh, well, we'll just spawn them up over here, right? And this happens a lot in different game mode variances. Like, and this will be called like getting a god spawn or something. The whole team's fighting over there and you spawn up, bloop, right here. And you're like, I'm going for the ball. I got a god spawn, right? Because your teammates are pushing up B or whatever's going on, right? It wants to spawn you close to your teammates, but it also wants to spawn you in an area where you can get some sort of effect on the game very quickly. And so this is a spawn to look out for. If you're holding ball purple, you may want to chuck a nade into here before the enemies spawn up. like a couple seconds before they spawn up, or 1 second before they spawn up, just so that when it checks it and it goes line of sight check, nope, danger check, yup, right? It doesn't spawn them up here. Okay, did we gloss over these spawns? There's spawns there. No spawns out here in the open? None? No spawns out here, so don't worry about this. You're looking for spawners. Like, obviously, they're going to spawn up and move, so they could be here, but my point is, they're not spawning here. What is this? Look at that. This is why we go into Forge. Order 0. This is a potential spawn for somebody. Wild. Spawns all back through here. No spawns on top tower. All these are potential spawns back here. These are not potential spawns for us. This is a squad spawn for a specific game type. Infection include. This is for infection. So we don't have to worry about this. These we have to worry about. Not this one, but these 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the difference between calling out their spawning cafe and calling out their spawning purple. So in my experience, most of the time, if you guys are set up on A, purple's the normal spawn. But all these spawns are available. All these spawns are available. So that's pretty much your spawns for the map, though, right? They're not going to be spawning down here in ATM. They're not going to be. So when you're going to control spawns, and you're thinking about where they could spawn, you want to keep them off purple, do some damage on purple. You know, you may spawn them cafe. If you want to keep, if you absolutely want to spawn them cafe, and you guys are covering everything else, you've got a guy top C, or you've got, a guy over here. Fire here. Spawn over. They won't spawn there. Just start firing at it. They won't spawn at that location. They'll spawn over there, or back A, right? If you guys are covering the rest of the map, you're covering C, and you're covering red rooms covered, right? Just thinking about where all the possible spawns are, where your teammates are, and then like what damage you can do to influence spawns from there. That's sort of like really what we're looking at, right? Line of sight. So aiming to ADSing at this area is going to make it less likely that they're going to spawn there. Right? These are all things to think about when we're trying to affect spawns in game, and potentially where they could be spawning, right? There's no reason to throw a nade at ATM if you're trying to affect spawns, because there's nobody ever gonna spawn here. It's not possible. They don't have spawn points here. So don't do that. Don't waste your nade, right? Put your nade somewhere that's more effective. Over here in purple corner, or up here on cafe, or back A, or PD over here, right? If you're having an epic battle over here over the ball, and you see that your whole team, there's nobody in PD, you don't have it covered, you don't want them spawning on you, toss a freaking nade in there, man. Like, help your teammates out in between what you're doing. Just keep guys off of these little poison spawns that exist behind walls in little cubbies, because they will spawn here, because the game wants to give them an opportunity to come back. It wants to give somebody a forward spawn to go and do some damage and get some stuff done, so that, because we're not always going to spawn back here, all the way back here in Red Room, just because the fight went down at Cafe. It's just not true. It's just not going to happen, right? There's a mechanic in the game that keeps it fast paced, that keeps them spawning closer, gives them opportunities. This little poison spawn right here is an opportunity. Don't let them do it, right? Make the game go, oh, we can't give them that. This is what we're talking about. Okay, so these are all the spawns on streets. Everyone that you're going to come in contact with, right? So let's pull up the map. Okay, spawns here, spawns here, spawns here, here, spawns here, 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 one spawn here, spawns back here. Oops. move the things away. Okay, spawn here. One spawn here. That's on the bottom. One's back in here. Did we see spawns in Commando? Did we see spawns in Commando? Let's go look. Let's double check. Let's find out. One spawn in Commando. One. One guy might spawn here. One spawn in Commando, little circle. Right? No spawns here. No spawns here. Spawns here. No spawns here. That little one. No spawns here. No spawns here. No spawns here. Go double check that. Make sure there's not one at tires or at garbage truck, because there could be. We didn't look at garbage truck. Two spawns at garbage truck. Uh-oh. Why are we going to forge? Two spawns garbage truck. Spawns in Harry Potter? Nobody spawns in Harry Potter. Nope. Spawns here? One spawn here. So when we're thinking about where people are spawning, it's super important to understand where they can spawn and precisely where they can spawn. Because this guy, right here, what? Might catch you off guard. Right? These things here, these little out of the way places that we don't expect people to be, that aren't like your normal spawns. But notice, they're going to be one person, one guy, not multiples. There's only one place to spawn there, one. Here, the whole team can spawn. Right? There's nothing around here, nothing in here, nothing tucked away over in here. There's not like a cheeky spawn right here, right? So when we're thinking about where people can spawn, look at that. Bottom A, tucked in the corner. It's important to know where it's possible. Look at that, another one. So when we go through these spawns, and we're going on different maps in Forge, which I highly recommend that everybody do, right? We're looking for not only the big squad spawns, not only these big locations where the whole team can spawn up, but these tiny little tucked away locations that we're not thinking about. Nothing in tires. Nothing here. And look in the little nooks and crannies and find out, hey, is this possible? Because once you zero in on a map on what's possible, then you can start thinking about what's likely and predicting spawns, and you can start cutting off things that happen to you all the time. So when you go back in theater, as all of you do, which is why you're rated above 1500, when you go back in theater and look for what happened in the corner at HP. Thought there wasn't one in Harry Potter. We went back and looked. Look at that. And you start seeing like where people are coming from or where they're spawning up those types of things. You're like, oh yeah, okay, that's that single spawn over there that, you know, and I keep getting got from right here, Harry Potter in this scenario, right? Or the guy keeps coming up right here in this scenario and getting my team, right? You can start to recognize, like, you're going to go look in areas and see, hey, did a guy spawn here? Because there's a spawn there, and they're not spawning anywhere else, so maybe this guy spawned up over here. Maybe he got a split spawn and spawned right in this location. But if you don't know, nothing back here, but look, one right here. If you don't know, right, if you look in here from out here and you go, nobody spawned in over there, we're good, this guy's, you still have no line of sight on this guy, and there's no danger around if you're looking through from bottom A, that location, right? This guy just spawns up behind the wall. You don't even know it. You go back to fighting. He comes around the corner and kills you. These are the types of things to be looking out for when you're doing your VOD reviews and finding out, you know, what you could have done better or what you overlooked, right? Where did they come up? Where did they spawn in? And then also, like I said, managing spawns for your team. You know, what are we doing with our lives, right? If you don't know about the phases of the game, all that stuff, go back and check out the under 1600 or under Platinum 3 lecture that we did recently, and that'll go over, you know, that'll talk about the different phases. During your control phase, you should be looking for spawns to cover, and managing these types of situations. If you don't know where the spawns are, how can you manage them? Right? You're going to go to a generalized location like this and go, I got A covered, and they're all going to spawn in PD. And that's just annoying. Right? So while it's unlikely that they're going to spawn right next to you, certain game modes are going to prioritize near spawns in certain situations, and you do have poison spawns set up like the one in PD, the one over here, and the one back C, right, that are going to potentially be an issue for you and your team if you're not aware of them during game, right? These are things that you may want to cut off depending on your strategy, you know, where you're holding the ball or things like that, right? You need to be accounting for all of these spawns and cutting them off before they become a problem for your team during your control phase. Okay, guys, well, that's it for spawns on streets. If you guys enjoyed it, I hope you learned something. I know that we're sort of going over, sort of glossing over some advanced level concepts here. A lot of this stuff is, there's plenty of YouTube videos on this stuff, like predicting spawns, spawn control, stuff like that. The issues that I'm sort of addressing are the things that I haven't been able to find online yet, and clearly defining where all of the spawns are, and sort of how they function, and identifying poison spawns is something that I haven't really seen much of. So hope you guys enjoyed. Hope to see you on the ladder.